Coming up on today's show, we are bringing you your weekly COVID-19 updates and how it's affecting our mental health. Hello, darlings, and welcome to your weekly COVID-19 update. I am your host, Portia Scott, and you guys know that we have two other co-hosts that join us every single week. But before I bring them out, there's a couple things that I want to say. First, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to every single mother out there. We love you. We appreciate you. You deserve this every single year, but I believe this year you get extra credit. So I am sending my love, telling you thank you for all that you do. Happy Mother's Day from Portia Scott Media. And if you guys want to stay in touch with us, listen, this is how you do it, by text. I promise you, we keep them short, sweet, and to the point. But text the phrase "wake up" to 31996. That's "wake up" to 31996. Why? Because you'll stay in the know when we're going live, when we have a podcast, also a little inspiration and encouragement for your day. So one of the things we love to do here is we love to do what we call our acts of kindness. Why do we do that? Because you may not be able to feed the 5,000, but you can do one. You can help one. And our organization for this week is Family Promise. Family Promise is such an incredible organization because what they do is they provide homeless assistance and a prevention program. They're also helping out with homelessness during the COVID-19 and offering COVID-19 relief. The way that so many of these organizations survive and continue to thrive is from people like us, our donations. So I ask that you go to familypromise.org. See how you can help, especially as we are in this COVID-19 season, this situation. There's so many people that are going through and they provide some of those assistance. So Family Promise is the organization for the week. How are you guys doing out there? I want to know. And while you are typing in the comments, yes. Hey, Val, thank you so much for joining, darling. While you guys are typing in the comments, I want to bring on my co-host. So in the red corner, we have Dr. Donovan Christie, our medical expert. Doc, thank you so much for joining.
Hey,
How are you?
it's a beautiful day. Mother's Day was awesome. It pleased me to make my wife feel very, very special today. Made her breakfast, and we went on a nice little walk on Stone Mountain. It was fun. It was fun.
That's good. Doc, I love it. So what are you grateful for?
Yeah, I'm grateful for mothers.
Oh,
I'm grateful for my mom, who passed several years ago. She raised 8 of us, and she was a strong woman. Um, I got all my intelligence from her for sure. Not my dad, my mom. She was a force to be reckoned with. And then, my sisters, I wanted to, look at them and how they have done with their children, my daughter and her children. And now, my son and his wife, they're here. And so I just want to give thanks for mothers and what they do and how much of a nurturer they are. And they're just the softer side of the team. So,
absolutely. That
yeah.
is incredible. And so we have on the left side, I can't see what he's wearing. We have Martinez Sellers, and Marty is our residential mental health professional. Marty, how are you doing today?
I am well, and happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, what are you grateful for today?
I have to resound what Doc said. So grateful for my own mother, who was my cheerleader, the one who pushed me, who told me never to give up, and who just, when I didn't think I could do something, she was the one saying, "You can do it. Keep doing it. Go back and try it again. Don't give up."
So
And I'm
true.
also grateful for my sisters, who are amazing mothers, who have given me so much advice. I'm the oldest, but they still give me such amazing advice, and my sisters are amazing role models as well.
Absolutely. I have to just echo everything that you guys have said, that I am so grateful for not just another Mother's Day, but that I am so grateful for my own mother. And if you see us, you would say that we're twins. She's just the darker side of me, but she is an exceptional, exceptional woman. And I believe that I am the mother that I am today is because I had an extraordinary role model. So I'm so grateful for my mother. So, hey, Pastor Portia. Hey, Val. How are you? Doc, your favorite person is commenting.
Hey,
Paula said,
Val. Good to, good to
Paula
see you.
said, hello, darling. I'm grateful for another Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you guys, listen, it's 7:07 and the time seems like it goes by so fast. Let us jump into today's episode. Marty, I'm actually going to start with you.
Okay.
And so, one of the things, just because we started with mothers, and sometimes this can be a bittersweet
Hmm.
situation, especially on top of COVID.
Yeah.
What are some of those? What is some recommendations that we can give to those that are sitting on the side of this bittersweet moment today on top of COVID? Something to help them navigate through this when their mothers are now our angels and are
Yeah.
not with us.
Yes. I think, Portia, one of the strongest things you can do is reflect on the time and the joyous times that you've had. Yes, we do miss our mothers, and my mother's still blessed to be here with me, but my grandmothers aren't here, and they played such a huge, vital role in my life. And so I do things that will help me commemorate my grandmothers. I do things to reflect on your mothers, whether it's maybe it's writing a poem, writing a journal, maybe it's planting a plant, making their favorite meal, doing things that's going to help you remember the good times in that, and accepting the loss in it, which can be difficult, but saying, you know what, hey, grandma, I missed you. Hey, mom, I missed you. Hey, whomever, that mom like figure, godmother, what have you. My godmothers were absolutely amazing. And I remember just the times when my parents said no, I could run to her. Hey, godmama, they said no. And she would just be standing in the defense for me. And I was off actually at college when my godmother had passed away and did not get to do that closure. So I do understand that, and just kind of reflecting back. So every time I see a moped on the street, it reminds me of my godmother, because she brought me my moped when I was 14. When my parents were like, "Oh no, we're not buying that," but she goes, "Oh yes, he's getting it." And so it brings a warmth to my heart. So definitely those times that you can reflect, maybe even putting a quilt together. For one of my families, I suggested that they get different things and bringing quilts. We forgot the importance and the values of making things like that, quilts, things that are tangible that we can hold on to. That is a wonderful reminder. So for some of the children, when they wrap up in that, it's like mom's arms are genuinely wrapping up. We're wrapped in their arms to remember them.
Yes, I absolutely love that. So our hearts go out to
Yeah.
those mothers and just people whose mothers are no longer with us. So, Doc, let's get into the COVID-19 updates as it relates on the medical side. So,
Yeah.
let us know, what are the latest statistics, cases, all of that stuff? What's
Well,
happening now?
I didn't really spend much time on the world because our world is really here in the U.S. And I wanted to go over the top 5 states. First, we have 1.36 million confirmed cases, and we've broken another 10,000. Now we're at 80,539. So when is this going to stop, right? It's not going
Yes.
to stop right now. But in New York, it's still the epicenter. It's still number one. you have 333,000 cases with 21,000 deaths in one state, 21,000. New Jersey is next, 137, with a little over 9,000 deaths. Massachusetts is 76,000 with a little under 5,000 deaths. California is only 64,000 cases, and I say only, obviously California is more spaced out. Even LA, I think the bulk of those cases, the 64,000 cases in California, probably in the LA area, with 2,600 deaths. Now, I got to stop at Georgia. There's a couple of other states that are higher than us. We're around number 10 in the nation. There's 31,000 cases in Georgia with 1,352 deaths. So you can see that we are definitely continuing to go up with cases and the death rate. But what's more important is the slope of that rise. And all indication is that it is slowing down. It is slowing down. There's a lot of people that are infected with the virus that has not manifested yet with disease, or if they're have very strong immune system, that they will only have mild symptoms. So as those cases get picked up, the cases are going to go up.
Yeah.
And the people who are most at risk are the elderly and people with those comorbidities. And those people are the ones that you really want to be able to keep indoors or to keep them very protected.
Absolutely.
But I think people with normal immune system, as you know, all the states are opening up. I think it's going to be okay. I don't think that, there's this fear that as soon as the states open up, the cases are going to go sky high. Well, we've been open up now almost 2 weeks in some areas, and it hasn't leaped like
Mhm.
we thought it would leap, right? It's still going, and the rise is still less than what you would predict.
Absolutely. So, Doc, let's talk about that a little bit in the states being open and the fact that what we've seen, even in Georgia, and I didn't have the numbers, but what we've seen in Georgia is an influx, right, to those states that are open from states that are closed. So, say, for instance, we have people from Massachusetts that are coming to Georgia and these states that are open. When we're looking at those statistics, when we're looking at those graphs and what that looks like, is that factored in? And I guess, I mean, I know it's been 2 weeks, but
Oh
just
yeah,
thinking.
it's factored in. It's factored in, but I think that the economy, as you guys know, that there's almost 30 million people that are out of work, and a lot of people are struggling. And certain businesses, like restaurant businesses, and if you're in certain types of occupation, there's just no work because things are shut down. So these people are going to be the ones that are leaving. In my men's group, we have a men's group through another organization, and we have people who in that group who've packed up and said, "I'm out of here." They were in New York and they came down looking for work. Georgia is opened up, not fully, but it's opened up with restrictions. And so people are going to come to where they can feed their families. They're going to come to, okay, well, there's work here, so I'm going to come here so I can actually make some money. That's what it's about at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely understand that. I just wanted to make sure that that was in, the number and that we were not acting as if people aren't going to come, right? We're going to flee, like you said, either for work or because people are tired of being in the house. And so
Right.
you're going to go to where the states are open. So now,
Economics.
now that we know this, businesses are opening, people are getting out there. What precautions should we take when we're doing business? Now that we're open, what are those precautions that we need to ensure as consumers, as employees, as employers? What are some of those precautions to take?
Absolutely. Great question. Now, I will tell you that it's ideal if you're going to an establishment and those people have been tested and they're negative, right? So that would be the ideal scenario. Now, there are different tests, and we're going to talk about the tests later on. But I think that any establishment that you leave your house to attend, you should still wear a face mask.
Mhm.
You should still practice social distancing as much as possible.
Mhm.
I had a call with my banker, and they were in the bank in the branch, and literally they had masks on in the bank, and we were on a Zoom call. So I'm thinking, okay, why are you on a Zoom call and you're there? But the policy for that particular branch is that if you come in the office, you have to wear a mask. So I think it's something that you're going to see, that a lot of the establishments are going to mandate that their employees wear masks, and that they wear gloves if they're going to be touching people. And
Absolutely.
the personal care industry, where you're doing barbering, you're doing facials, you're doing hair, massage. Those people should all wear a mask when they're touching you, because you don't know what's going on. If that's what's if you have to have those services, then for sure.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we'll see is life. We're ready for it to go back to normal. I don't know if it'll go back to what we know as normal, right? Where you're
Mhm.
saying that for a while we'll, and I don't know how long that'll be, wearing masks and just different precautions. Will we shake
I
hands
think
again? Will we
it's
do
funny.
these things?
Yeah, I think it's funny because we were talking about that today in the car on our way to the mountain. And, I don't think, if you're in a social setting, let's say a year from now, and someone sneezes,
Hmm.
right? You're going to turn around and look at that person. You sneeze. Before, somebody sneezed, you're like, okay, he sneezed. But now, if they cough, if they're sneezed, if they have a runny nose, you're looking at them like you're making sure that their discharge or whatever is not getting on top of you. And I think that's going to be going for a long time. And that's what's the major change is going to be going forward. How if you're sick, you better stay home, because you're not going to be welcome when coughing around in the drugstore, or in the it's just not going to be accepting, because people will get extremely nervous.
Absolutely. So, Marty, I kind of want to segue into this for you because I think it's important as we're opening up, as we're doing business. So, we have a question that was saying, you know what, I don't really care about going outside. This has almost become normal. What can
Mhm.
I do to change this? We've kind of talked about this, about how we've been in this safe bubble,
Mhm.
and some people are ready to get out, but some people are like, it's safe here. I like it here. How can we start to shift that mindset that this was only temporary and that we're going to start going back out?
Right. As we were talking earlier, one of the things I wanted to come up with a little, I love acronyms. And for me, it was the TIP, TIP. When you take some time, and Raina, that's a great question. Take some time to see where you are at. Take some time to evaluate your anxiety in all of this. In taking time that will allow you to understand how quickly you need to get out. And like Doc was saying, take all the precautions that you need to take, wearing a mask, maybe wearing your gloves, keeping your hand sanitizer by you. All these things are, although they're physical, they also play into our mental health as well. And I'm so glad that Doc is on here, because I love the approach that we take, because it's all integrated. One supports the other. Our physical health supports our mental health, and our mental health supports our physical health. And making sure that you're taking the necessary time and talking, T for talking this through, talking with loved ones, talking with those people that you revere. And then um, the I think, is talk about increase what matters to you. Increase those things that are going to bring you joy. Increase those things that are going to help balance you, so that as we're going in this shift, life becomes somewhat normal. Yes, there is going to be a new normal, but what is that new normal for you? And it's all right during this time to take time to find out what that new normal is. And P, I cannot stress enough the power of positivity. making sure that you are always thinking from a healthy mindset, but that you're thinking from a positive mindset as we're going through this change and what this new life might be for you.
Absolutely. I love that, Marty. Love, love, love that. So I think it's very important. You know, we've been talking about Doc because you talked
Mhm.
about as we go into business, knowing our status. Your girl is negative because I got my test this week.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I sent all of us to the doctor. I had my blood drawn. I called my doctor. I even went and got a flu shot this week because I hadn't done it this fall. He's like,
Okay.
"No, don't take it." Had all my vitals done and everything. So I came back negative as well.
Hey, that's
You got us
awesome.
all running to the doctor. And Portia, I don't know about you, but that was the best experience. I was in and out of Kaiser here in Southern California in a matter of like 15 minutes
Yeah,
from.
that doesn't happen.
Yes, they took my temperature outside. They also did a body scan of me before I even went in. They had this if this is what it took,
They're not
uh,
messing around.
they're not messing around. They had us in and out, anything for whatever, in and out quickly. And
Mhm.
Yes.
it was pain free. Everything was great.
Yeah, I did the blood test, so I can't speak to the swab.
Mm-mm.
But my husband did get a swab, so we are good to go. But Doc, we kept saying it and we laughed about it, but I think it does give you a level of comfort
Comfort.
Mhm.
when you know that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So as we segue into testing, there was a question, and it was, is the risk greater now for barbers and hairdressers? And probably those people, like you said, that come in close proximity of other people.
Well, I mean, I think that it's no higher than the risk for a nurse, a medical assistant, or a physician. You know, the bottom line is that those people, the barber and the hairdresser, they should wear a mask when they're around when they're treating clients. You're just as close as a doctor or nurse is to their patient, and we know that if you have the proper personal protective equipment on, you're not going to get it. You're just not going to get it unless you take it off and somebody sneezes in your face or coughs in your face, or you put your bare hand on the countertops, and then you take that and you rub your eyes or your nose. That's how you're going to get it. So I don't think they're at any greater risk. I mean, obviously they're at greater risk now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic, but they're not at any greater risk now opening up than they were, say, 8 weeks ago
Okay.
before this pandemic.
Excellent. Thank you. So let's go ahead and talk about tests. Let's kind of jump into um, all of this testing that's going on. So the FDA, right, has been talking about the antigen test, like the approval of the antigen test. And what does this mean? And actually, I know you talk about it every week, but I think it's important that people understand it too, because we have new people coming on. And so understanding the various tests that are out there and which one should be we be looking at.
Sure, that's a very, and I don't have no problem in going over it again because it is not as simple as you may believe. Now, unless you took virology or molecular biology, you're not going to understand that, there is a cell membrane, right? And there is
Hmm.
cell membrane is made of lipid layer, and then the virus itself produces have protein on the outside of that cell membrane. But it's science. So if you really want to understand, just understand that. So you have this virus. Let's picture a circle, and on the cell membrane, you have protein that the virus has made on the outside. And you guys have seen the coronavirus. You see those beautiful crown looking protein molecules that are sticking out, right? That protein is considered an antigen because that is what's going to ignite the body's immune system to make antibodies to that protein. So an antigen test is either a fragment of a virus or a protein associated with that virus. That's an antigen. It's an antigen of the virus. It's a protein made by the virus. and it's usually pretty unique. Now, there are other viruses that may make the same protein, but it's not common. And right now, we're really just concerned with COVID, SARS-CoV-2 protein, right? So the FDA just approved the first antigen test, first one. And it's made by a pharmaceutical company or a lab company. The name of the company is Quidel, Quidel. They make a lot of rapid tests. Matter of fact, they make our rapid tests for strep. They make the rapid tests for mononucleosis that we use. And they come in little cartridges. So here's the difference now. So an antigen test is actually testing for the protein of part one of the proteins of the COVID or the coronavirus. The antibody test, now this is what you have to understand. The antibody test, that's why it's a blood test. We are checking your immunity, your body's response to the virus. So you would make an antibody, which is more, if you look at it, it's like a Y. Say this is a protein, it comes down and it binds it. That's an antibody. You have two different types. Usually IgM is what comes out first, and then you have IgG that comes out second. So that's an antibody test. So it's your immunological response to the virus. It does not check for viral particles. It checks for your body's response to the virus. Your body's not going to make an antibody to COVID-19 unless you've been exposed to the virus, correct? Because that's what triggers the immunity. So the typical nasal swab test now, that's the test that checks for inside that virus, inside that circle, you have the RNA, ribonucleic nucleic acid. That is the genetic material of that virus. That is a test that also tests for the virus, but it takes 24 hours because that has to be sent out to the lab and they have to put it through this big machine to check, and then through this reaction called PCR. I'm not even going to say the name, it's just going to confuse people. But the PCR checks for that viral RNA, okay? That takes 24 hours. It's not that it's a bad test, it's a great test, and it's very sensitive because it doesn't, you don't have a lot of false negative with that at all. The antigen test, you can have false negative with. And this new test by Quidel has a 15% false negative, 15%. So you can actually have the virus and not pick up 15% of people, you won't pick it up. But 85%, if it tests positive, yes, you know you have it. If it tests negative, they're then recommending to do the PCR test, the nasal swab, as confirmatory. So, it's a good screening test because it's quick. The nasal swab for the antigen, it's a good screening test because it's quick. You get that result within 15 minutes, 30 minutes. So in an urgent care setting, in an emergency room where you just want to rule it out and get people out of there, and they come back positive, then they have it, you can do the proper disposition. And if they're negative, then you can always do the swab, call them back the next day and let them know that, hey, yeah, it's really negative, it's not positive, or it's positive and it didn't get picked up. I don't want to keep grabbing. Okay.
I love it. Thank you so much
for it. Does that explain?
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, I got to test. I do want to say, though, that was one of the things that one of your doctors mentioned is that I did the rapid test. And because John had did the swab, that she didn't feel like I needed the swab as well. Right.
The ideal thing is to get both.
Okay.
I mean, that's you want to see if you had acutely infected or if you had been infected. And if you're not symptomatic, then just get the antibody test because that's going to let you know if you're immune or if you were exposed at a particular time.
Absolutely. And I know we talked about CDC kind of having these tests. Are they doing the antibody test, or are they doing what test are they doing both?
Well, I think that the CDC doesn't really do I mean, they have a
I'm sorry,
lab.
CVS. CVS. I think some
CVS.
CVS were doing it.
CVS
Yeah.
is doing, they were doing the swab tests. They were doing the PCR tests. That's what they were doing. Now, this is the first antigen test, the protein part. Okay, I don't want to
Okay.
confuse. This is the first one that's been approved, and it's only approved for emergency use
Okay.
with Quidel, and this is only Friday. I actually sent them an email Saturday saying, when are these kits going to be out? Because I'd like to be able to get that, because it's better than waiting 24 hours. We can tell people right away. Now, the drawback with the antibody test, even though it's rapid, if, let's say you were exposed, let's just use the days of the week. Let's say you were exposed to someone on Monday,
Hmm.
and you come in on Thursday to get the antibody test. You have no symptoms. That antibody could be negative because your body hasn't mount that immunological response. So you really have to wait 7 days after exposure before you could say the antibody test is going to tell you, okay, I've been exposed.
Hmm.
Now, if you came in on Thursday and you were exposed on Monday and you did the antigen test, you can tell. If you did the nasal swab, you'd have to wait till Friday to get the results, but you'd still be able to tell.
Absolutely. So I think this helps us a little bit, right? Because we've all heard about the staffers in the White House that have it, that have come positive. And
Right.
I think even the day prior that they tested negative. But now the day after, whatever they were tested on the next day, they were positive, and that could be because it
Exactly.
wasn't showing up until kind of that timeline. Okay.
Precisely.
Love that. So
Excellent.
we have a question. So my son had labs. They say he has antibodies for strep. With that, I guess that he could contact it. So they say when you have antibodies, it does not determine anything. Is that the same for COVID?
Well, you can have antibody for strep, but it doesn't mean that you won't get another strep infection, because it'll change as well. Now, typically, when they do antibodies for strep, that's when you've had such a severe strep infection, which can lead to heart disease called rheumatic heart disease, or it can lead to kidney failure,
Hmm.
what they call glomerulonephritis. Those are things that you would want to go ahead and do a streptococcal antibody test.
Okay.
But routine strep throat, you don't do that. You just swab them and treat them, and they may get it again.
Okay, excellent. We had one other question too. So Connecticut's doing a slow opening, I think starting May 20th under strict guidelines. And the governor said no hair salons can use hair dryers. Is there a reason you think, Doc, for not using hair dryers? Is it the circulation of
Yeah,
the
because
air?
your air, yeah, it's the same reason why we don't do a lot of nebulized treatments in the office for like asthmatics, because you don't want to aerosolize the viral particle. So when you're blowing things, you may be blowing it into the air, and somebody may actually breathe it. So that's one of the reasons. But the CDC has made some guidelines that hasn't come out fully in
Mm-hmm.
terms of how to open. They have a 3-phase step of how businesses should open up: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And essentially, if you need to, obviously hand washing is very important, and wearing your mask and gloves, depending on your occupation. But limiting the amount of people that are going into the establishment is very key. For
Absolutely.
instance, daycare centers. I just want to talk about that because
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who can't go back to work because
that's right.
they don't have any. So that's actually, they have a 17-page report. The CDC made their recommendation, and daycare centers are at the top of the list because they want to make sure these are the guidelines. And if I could just give you a few of the things that they've come out with that,
Yeah.
they have the 3 phases, and essentially they want to promote healthy hygiene practice. They want to make sure that they intensify the cleaning and disinfection and ventilation of the area. They want to ensure social distancing as much as they can. They're going to cancel all field trips, any intergroup events. They want to limit gatherings and events and extracurricular activities. They want to restrict non-essential visitors. They want to space out the seatings and the beddings of the children.
Mhm.
Close communal use space, such as game rooms or dining halls, if possible, close those down. If not possible, then stagger the use and disinfect between use. If a cafeteria or group dining is typically, feed the kids in their room. Don't feed them. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
it's that specific. So they want people to go back to work, but they have these guidelines that they're kind of putting out there and telling people this is what you have to do. They have guidelines for churches. And
Mm-hmm.
I was reading those. There was 2 pages just on social on churches, what they need to do. Phase one, phase two, and phase three.
Excellent. Send me those, Doc. Thank you
I
so
will.
very much.
I
Thank
know
you.
my daughter because I have a 4-year-old,
Yes.
and she even with the school they've been keeping us posted on that as well. And part of the new procedure is I cannot go back now. I'm not going to let her go back till maybe June, but I cannot go to her classroom anymore. I have to come and drop her off or register at the front door and wait, and then they go back and get her. And likewise, they are increasing their cleaning, and we've done the same thing in our practice as well. We had it professionally cleaned and sterilized, and we're probably not looking at bringing people back in or our clinicians maybe till July, in that because we want to err on the safe side,
Hmm.
especially
For
with
sure.
telehealth being so popular now. We
Right.
went immediately to telehealth, and in fact, our business has increased as a result of it.
Oh
Right.
no, I know, and a lot of companies are actually seeing exactly, Marty, what you're experiencing,
Mhm.
um, and the overhead would be low if you could just work
Yes.
from home.
Absolutely. So, Doc, you kind of got this conversation started. I think it's important about daycare. We hadn't really even talked about that
Yeah.
as people things are opening. I think we're looking at that. So, California, I have a small preschool with a class of 4. She's living in California. When do you think is a good idea to restart? So she has 4. She has a class of
Yeah,
4 that she's
sure.
teaching in her
I
school.
think four is good. 4 is a good number. It's the class of 20 that you would have a problem when you only have a certain square footage. You can easily separate 4 students and give them 6 feet in between. So I think that if the parents feel comfortable, I would actually have them to test the children. Um, because I think everyone should be tested, symptomatic or not. That is what is going to need to happen for people to
Yes.
have that mental
Mhm.
Assurance.
relaxation that you need to know that you're not sending your kid to this place that's infested with coronavirus, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that, Nicole.
Absolutely.
And Dr.
Somebody's, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, would you agree? Because even at, I still see kids at my group home, but we take their temperature twice a day. They take my temperature when I go
Yeah.
in and when I leave. And then I have to also verbally, though, and it's recorded, though, that I have not been exposed. I have not had any symptomologies or
Mhm.
anything like that. And even with her daycare, that could be a great suggestion that she's recording that. And for our administrative staff, we're about to do the exact same thing as we're slowly integrating our
Integrating.
administrative staff back into the business that we're doing temperatures throughout the day. We are,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
making that commitment that we have not been exposed or we haven't are not demonstrating any of the symptomologies of that as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
So somebody said, are those guidelines? They're available for all, right? I guess you can pull
Yeah,
them up on the
yeah,
CDC.
they're available. All you have to do is go to the CDC website. Now, I will tell you, it's a little political because the guidelines have not been fully released
Hmm.
because, they were actually, some politicians didn't want them to come out because they thought them too restrictive. But the CDC is about disease prevention. So if they're saying this is what should be done, I would definitely follow those guidelines. And they're just guidelines.
Right.
CDC doesn't mandate. It's not a hammer approach. They're
Right.
just telling you this is what you need to do in our eyes, what you need to do to protect you, your family, your coworkers, and so on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Doc. So, this is another question. What if you had a guest? I'm assuming that in your house or around where you are that tested positive for COVID. When is it safe to go into the room they were in?
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
I understand. I understand, Valerie. Now, I will tell you that in our experience in our office, we've had several people test positive, and they would have come back in 2 weeks or and get another test, and they were still positive for the antigen, for the RNA. So what we're finding is that it takes at least 3 to 4 weeks for that patient to clear the virus so they're not infectious anymore. So I told my staff, we're not testing anyone else for testing for cure, for resolution, for at least 3 to 4 weeks after they've had a positive test. Now, if you're talking about just going in the room, I think if you wear a mask, go in the room and wipe the room down and disinfect the room, you're okay. But if you're talking about in terms of when that person should come out of the room and then feel safe to go amongst other people, I would say minimally 3 to 4 weeks.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Doc. So I kind of want to get in, Marty, a little bit. And Doc, we have some other stuff to come back to you. But
Mhm.
Marty, it's so much going on,
Yeah.
especially mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And I really love to bring it up on this show so that we can, just erase and eradicate the stigma of getting help. So,
Mhm.
one of the questions I wanted to ask is there such a thing as short-term anxiety, whereas somebody's kind of feeling depressed or anxious just based around an event, per se, COVID, and then kind of after that, do they go back? Does it, how do you manage that? And kind of, because you may have someone that's saying, I've never had this before, I've never dealt with it before, but now I'm finding it hard to concentrate, or I'm anxious whenever, I think about this, or, my work or whatever it is. So,
Definitely, there's seasonal depression, seasonal affect depression, and all that, and seasonal things that come up, especially when you're dealing with traumatic things such as death, such as a traumatic experience, such as COVID-19, that we have to be aware of. And if we're one of the key factors I say is if your routine has changed, then we need to look at why has it changed, what has changed about it, and how has this affected you from your normal daily activities. And
mhm.
those are the very common things that we pay attention to with that. For a lot of my patients and people, I'm encouraging them to do is go and put up some sort of loose schedule to keep you back on as much of a, say, normal track that you can during this time, because we all are feeling the extent of this. After going back into my office after about a month of not being in there, almost 5 weeks of not being there, there was just this relief that I was like, wow, it felt so good just to be back in that space
Right.
again. And so just acknowledging those type of things and realizing, look, what I'm feeling is normal. So I might feel a little anxious, and I'm loving even what Doc is saying in that if you need to get tested, definitely go get tested. Whatever's going to bring some relief and release to you, do those things. I'm encouraging people, listen, go do some exercise, put on your mask. Of course, we want to practice safety and the precautions that we need to. Walk around your block, do some exercise. Doc has definitely been stressing that with it as we're building up our lungs and building up the blood flowing and building up our own natural immunities as well. It also is great for our mind, getting fresh air, getting sunlight, taking vitamins. I'm taking so many vitamins now, but I say this now, I feel absolutely amazing. I'm mad at myself that I'm a mental health professional, that I had not been following some of the things I've been stressing to people to do. And so it's even a self-check for me in that regards. But yes, there are seasonal things. There are things as anniversaries come up of deaths of dearly beloved ones passing. As Mother's Day might be, and you shared this at the beginning of the show, might be a joyous occasion for several of us. We cannot ignore that population where Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays are not joyous occasions. Holidays can be difficult for several people because we promote it as spending time with loved ones. Oh, this is a great day. And when there's not a great day for you, we have to look at it differently. And that's why I encourage the journaling, maybe the making a quilt, doing whatever you need to get you in the right frame of mind. And again, the power of positivity.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
Marty, what I've noticed too, because I've had several patients that have loved ones that
Hmm.
passed from the
Yes,
coronavirus, and
yes,
they were doing great, but with the news, and the fact that they weren't able to go and visit and to
hmm,
pay their respects,
yes,
the stress levels just went skyrocketed. Blood
yes,
pressure went up.
yes,
They stopped taking their medicines that they should, and they just kind of became like somewhat disoriented, with
yes,
this whole thing. So if you're gonna have stress, you got to find healthy ways to deal with stress.
have to.
Right.
That's so right. But I'm loving that California is finally getting into are some of these drive-by
Yeah.
memorial services
Oh,
at
Memorial. Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
with it. I know it's been bigger on the East Coast and South than it has been here in California,
Yeah.
but it is giving some sense of closure.
Normal.
Yeah, and
yeah.
that I can at least pay my respects. And
Hmm.
then making the actual funerals extremely small to immediate family.
Only.
So
And
let me tell you this real quick,
Yeah.
Portia. So my son and his wife, they said this morning that they had a wedding to go to, right?
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be a small wedding. So we come back from the Stone Mountain, and they're sitting there in the living room, dining room. They're fully dressed, well, at the top, right,
yeah,
with white and tie, and they're sitting there, and the Zoom is on, and they're actually at a Zoom wedding, and they
That's
wanted them to dress up, and then I don't know how they're really working it, but they're at a wedding on Zoom, and they
that's
dressed the part, and I think it's what the couple wanted.
I
They
love
didn't want to
that.
just do it by themselves.
I think
yeah.
it's so important that, and Marty, you
My
can
wife
probably,
told me 150 people were on.
oh, that's amazing. I think it's so important that it may not be what we envisioned, but
Yes.
really understanding and sitting in our reality, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. And
Yep.
so, being able to, with graduation, that's been a big thing, with weddings, all of these things. And I love it for the people that are able to take their expectations and really turn it into what reality looks like and saying, right now, maybe we can't have this huge wedding that we fantasize that we expected, but
Mhm.
understanding this is the reality and that still doesn't have to change what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and say this because I know, but Marty and his friends, they had a friend that had a birthday. And what they did was he's a gospel singer and he does all these things with choirs. And this is what they did. They did a drive-by by his house. They were social distance on like each corner of the street and they sang happy birthday. And so just in that small amount of time of saying happy birthday, social, physically distant with their mask and all of this, I think finding those ways to navigate through this, still make it happen, but say, you know what, it may not happen the way that I thought, but that doesn't stop me from whatever it is that, I plan to do. So I just thought that that was great what you guys did, Marty. That was
You.
amazing.
And we didn't know he had just received some bad news from his mother. And with it, for, one of the family members testing positive for COVID and everything. And so now he's standing on his balcony, seeing like 15 of us on four different corners, and people were honking and buses going by, just waving. It was absolutely amazing. And so now,
Yeah.
my friend who's 54 now, who's calling us, FaceTiming and everything's going by. You don't know how bad I just needed that just to pull my spirits up. And it's
Yeah.
those type of closures that we need. I know we're even doing graduations where
Yeah.
they're staggering a week-long graduation according to where you fall on the alphabet. It's a
Hmm.
drive-by graduation where they're having the stage and everything in the parking lot. And you drive by, the kid gets out of the cap and gown, they still shake hands, take the pictures, and move on. with that as well. So
Yeah.
that's the new thing we're doing out here in Southern California.
Yes, I love it. So, Doc, one of the things, so before we got on the call, I was outside in the hammock getting my good vitamin D. And so I know that's so important, but really tell us kind of the science, right? Of how important is vitamin D, like blood levels and the immune response, right?
Yeah,
To SARS and
vitamin.
COVID-2 and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and there's a study now that was just published in Europe that shows the benefit and how important it is to keep your vitamin D levels up. And literally 80 to 90% of the people that we check in the office, and vitamin D is a routine test that we do for everyone who's getting a physical.
Hmm.
80 to 90% of them will have a subtherapeutic or a low level. I mean, below 30. Because number one, you have people staying indoors now more.
Mhm.
Number two, they're not eating enough oily fish, and that's where you get your vitamin D, not milk. Milk has been fortified with vitamin D. Okay, especially cow's milk, and that was the big thing why they had so many people drinking cow's milk.
Right.
But for another time, I'll tell you what cow's milk. Who should be drinking cow's milk? Maybe cows, but
Cows.
anyway. Um, Yeah, so vitamin D is important for your bones. We all know that. It's
Hmm.
important as a cancer prevention. It's important for your blood pressure and your blood sugar control. But for the COVID-19, this study done at the ARU University, the Angela Ruskin University, showed that the people who came down with COVID-19 infection all had low vitamin D. And the
Mhm.
higher your vitamin D levels were, is the better your resistance to the COVID-19 infection. So everyone should be taking at least 5,000 IUs until you get your levels up to at least 60. When I tell my patients it should be between 60 and 100, that's what you need it. Now, why is it important for the sick people who get COVID to have higher levels? Vitamin D prevents or modulates
Hmm.
the cytokine storm, which is what causes all the inflammation in the lungs
Okay.
and causes SARS or the acute respiratory distress, which is what kills people. That's what people are dying from, from the lung disease. So if you can prevent that, you get the disease, but if you have ample amount of vitamin D, and another thing that I told you about earlier, Portia, was
Hmm.
stem cells. It does the same thing. It pretty much prevents the cytokine storm. So mesenchymal stem cells are being used for very sick people. So I just wanted to throw that in as well as a
Got it.
preventative and treatment measures.
So I think it's great. And Doc, we talked about this maybe at the beginning, some of the first shows. It sounds like this, Marty mentioned vitamins, and people want to know what vitamins. So 5,000 IUs of vitamin D. What are some other things that we
If you're
should be
low,
taking?
yeah, sure. If you're low, you should be taking 10,000. The prescription strength is 50,000, and you do that once a week. For patients who want to do the 50, I tell them to take it. We have people walking in with vitamin D levels of less than 10. So I will start them on 10,000 units once a day for 3 months, get them over 40, 50, and then they can drop down to 5,000 and
Hmm.
continue to take that. The RDA recommendation for vitamin D is way, way too low, and it needs to change. But vitamin C, the Chinese did a study. Vitamin C is also something that's going to prevent or modulate the cytokine storm. Remember, sometimes the body doesn't really know how to restrict inflammation, and
Mm,
inflammation is what kills you,
yeah.
right? So a cytokine storm is just the cells, the inflammatory cells degranulating and creating all this inflammation and then basically blocking up the alveoli, the air tubes, and preventing oxygenation. And you die when you can't oxygenate. So vitamin C is an antioxidant. It prevents free radical, it prevents damage from some of those cytokines. So vitamin C has been used for very sick patients. Vitamin D, you should have your levels up as a preventative measure. Selenium is another antioxidant that's highly recommended. Zinc is another metal that helps to improve the immune system. We don't want the immune system overreacting. And that's what causes so many diseases. It's the overreaction. It doesn't have a limit sometimes, you know. And when we don't eat right or when we're stressed out, the immune system can cause significant problems. All autoimmune disease is a hypersensitivity of the immune system, from lupus to rheumatoid arthritis to inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease. It's the immune system that's gone haywire. And we just need to make sure we can keep the immune system balanced with the right nutrients.
Okay. And then, Doc, with the, somebody mentioned it too. You had said it before, some of the multivitamins, right? I mean, you take them because to take something, but some of them don't have enough. So,
They don't.
with like vitamin C, we all can't get to you. I mean, I can, but everybody else can't get to you to get that, big dose that we need. So, what should we be taking over the counter, or what do you recommend?
At least 2,000 milligrams is about all you can really take orally
Okay.
because it's
Yep.
ascorbic acid, and when it goes down, it can cause some gastritis. Now, you can take 2,000 milligrams maybe 2 or 3 times a day with food. That'll help you to get more in. But
Mhm.
obviously, intravenously, you can start out with 30 grams, and go on up to that point.
And
So,
then the selenium and zinc, just take whatever the kind of,
zinc at least 20,
okay.
right? And selenium is like 1 milligram.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you, Doc,
yeah.
because I know people will be asking. So I do want to leave it open. I know we have about 2 minutes, and I want to make sure if there's any questions that I didn't get to. Somebody said, I've run into my medicine cabinet now. Somebody else said oat milk. Include that next time on vitamins. I don't know if you drink oat milk. I mean, we drink almond milk here. Um, uh, I just somebody said finding hobbies. I think that really spoke to you, Marty. Being able to find hobbies and managing that anxiety and that
Yeah.
depression with these hobbies. Before we came on, Doc was really talking about how important it is. If you were on last week, Doc kind of said over the course of all this COVID-19, at some point you may get a little bit of it or whatever, but the big thing here is we want to make sure that we're preventing it. And so
Right.
Doc and Marty both always talk about these preventative measures. And so I asked Doc we talked about how do I get my body to perform at its peak? And it takes time. But Doc, give us a couple of things that I can do today. Well, it's 8, tomorrow, to really start that process of trying to get my body in the most optimal shape, not just for COVID-19, but so that I can just live this healthy and energetic, and making sure that I'm, taking care of my body for anything else that could go on.
Yeah, there's a few things. It's multifactorial. You have to do a few things. Not only do you need exercise, yeah, and I think that, you can exercise indoor, but I think the risk of you exercising outside and going for walks with your mask on is very small, because you need that sun. You need the sunlight. It's so important for your mood. It's so important for your immune system, and with vitamin D and other things. Just basically what it does to your spirit. Just being outside and seeing God's beauty and creation. And we obviously need to eat right. Fruits and vegetables and wholesome foods, staying away from processed foods. If you're overweight, you do need to lose the extra weight because it does have an impact on your cardiovascular and your immunity. Most people, if you look at a lot of people who, for instance, breast cancer, high rates of breast cancer in women who are obese. Colon cancer, high rates in people who are obese. Not that you can't get it when you're thin, but you can, higher rates. So you want to make sure you're trying to get to as close to a BMI of at least 27. 25 is a little too light for me, for a lot of people, but especially if you have good muscle structure, you have to get the weight down, and you have to practice good spirituality. You cannot. Somebody mentioned in the comments about positive thinking. The only way to get positive thinking for me is to understand that you're not here out of your own creation.
Mhm.
You were created, and if you believe in God, and you know that there is a higher power, you're going to have a lot of relaxation in that. And there's so many things you can't change. So
Right.
why try to change it when you can't?
I
Right?
Right.
love
Beat
that.
yourself up.
Doc,
So
I love that. I love the eating right. I love the exercise and getting out there. I know you say about 30 minutes at least
at least 30
per
minutes.
day.
And your
And
supplements.
yeah, and taking those
Mhm.
supplements. So oat milk. Uh, Somebody said, I'm curious. So, two questions about oat milk. What is Jackie saying? Tell her she needs to come on camera. Rosetta has a little one, and she said that she doesn't like, whole milk. She's too young for multivitamins. Does oat milk give those same vitamins that she would get, I guess, for a multivitamin or, um,
Okay, let me just get on my milk bandwagon. Okay. First of all, I believe that if the child is less than one, the only milk that child needs is breast milk. That is the best milk that God has created. And that's why women have mammary glands. That's the purpose for them, is to produce milk for their infant. If the kid is over one, they do not need cow's milk because they're robbing the baby cows of milk that the baby cows should be drinking, not humans. Okay, especially now the way they pump up the cows, they keep them in a pregnant state so they can produce milk by putting in prolactin and estrogen and pumping them up with these hormones. All those hormones go in the milk, and the kids are drinking these milk. You wonder why children will get their menstrual cycle at the age of 8. Women, young girls, will do that because of the hormones that are in our food, and a lot of it is good milk and chicken and steak or whatever. So oat milk, plant-based milk. We do almond milk. We do oat milk. My wife is that's the new thing now that they're bought in. It's a good milk to have. Um, but it shouldn't be the primary source of nutrients, and because they should be eating other foods, a more of a variety of diet. People think they put too much emphasis on milk. Milk is only important that first year of life, and it should be human milk, right? Not even formula, because I don't recommend formula unless there's a problem with the mom and she can't breastfeed.
got it.
So I'm getting off my horse now.
We love it. You have people going to check labs, their vitamin D levels, their vitamin C levels. I love it actually because I think that what this has done is caused us to take an approach to our health that's individual and that is our responsibility instead of just letting stuff happen or saying, oh, well, they'll check it. But now going in to say and asking, I never asked what my vitamin D levels were. John asked all the time because that's so important. But for me, I never even asked, what are my vitamin D levels? What are we kind of just asked about the big stuff. But we are at 8:05. You guys have been incredible. Marty, before we depart, give
Yes.
us just a radio version of what are some self-care regimens that I can do at home? Because we're
Yeah.
at home. So what can we do at home?
Self-care regimens that you definitely can do at home is, taking some time to maybe meditate, like Doc said, getting yourself grounded, taking some time to journal. Journaling is so amazing because you get to see your growth. Too many of us want to talk about things and then we forget about it and not track it. That's the purpose of journaling in that. And you know what? Like Doc said, getting some exercise, all of that helps. Getting some fresh air, some vitamin D, allowing the sunshine to do its what it was created for, to help enrich us and to vitalize us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. As always, this was an incredible show. So, Marty, before we go, how can we stay in touch with you and everything that you're doing?
Yes. Well, I'm so excited. Definitely on Facebook, Mental Health Matters with Marty, and then Marcel Consulting, definitely as you see there. But I'm so excited that on May 20th, this is my shameless plug, so thank you, Portia. I will be launching my Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast. So excited about that. And the wonderful team of Portia and her team that's going to be helping me launch that. And we're going to be addressing all things mental health. Nothing is off the table when we're talking about mental health in our Black and Brown communities, because we have to speak up, speak out, and live.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marty. Thank you for being here and for just all your contributions. We are super excited about his podcast. That is March 20th. But listen,
Hey,
next week we are going to May 20th. But next week we are going to have an invite for you guys to actually come to his launch party, which is May 22nd. And so we are super excited about that. So, Doc, as always, thank you for just your expertise, for taking out the time. How can we stay in touch with you?
Well, let me just first say, Portia, thanks for inviting me on, and because what this show it makes me so excited about keeping on top of the latest development, and because otherwise I'd probably become a little lackadaisical with it and just listen to what the news casters are saying, because it's all about hype, and so many people are afraid to leave their house, and it's not that. You do have some control, and it drives me crazy to see people who are just cooped up. And if they have a normal immune system, it's kind of like a little bit too much. And so we are open Monday through Saturday. And thank God, we've practiced. My staff knows how I feel about nutrition, and they try to do their best with that. But they take their supplements, they get their exercise, and knock on wood, just continue to pray for us, because none of us have gotten sick yet from this virus, and we see people pretty much every day that are sick.
Yes.
Um, so we're available obviously at N1 Regenerative Center, and that's the phone number there. We do have a website, N1 Wellness Medical Center. N1 stands for All Natural Weight and Nutrition, and it's a integrative medicine practice. We are board certified MDs and nurse practitioners. We're not practicing voodoo. We do very we practice integrative medicine because it makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doc. And you can also find him at Donovan Christie on Facebook, as well as Anwan Regenerative Center on Facebook and IG. So Nicole says she's excited about May 20th. One of the things I want to make sure that you guys are keeping in touch with us. Listen to this, every single Sunday, we are here at 7 p.m. We want you to share these broadcasts. Put a reminder on your calendar if you enjoyed this broadcast, if you enjoyed the information that you're getting. I cannot even count up the number of hours that they've shared and what that would equate to a session or to just a consultation with any one of them. So make sure that you're sharing the broadcast. Also, Monday through Friday, we are here on the Wake Up and Show Up Live. It is a daily show giving you a daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. It is a spinoff of the Wake Up and Show Up podcast as well, which drops an episode every single Thursday. We want to keep up with you. So text the phrase wake up to 31996. That's wake up to 31996. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you everyone for taking the time out each and every Sunday to come on, to ask your questions, and to just come on and dialogue with us. We absolutely enjoy it and we appreciate it. And so you guys know how we end every single episode with this declaration. Waking up is automatic. Showing up is intentional. Today, I will show up. See you guys next week.